No, you're totally fine. Yes. Um, so I have done now, I've sort of been obsessing over this idea of trying to find a puzzle that I've been obsessing over this idea of how to find a puzzle that feels like you're sort of figuring out blueprints or schematics or plans. So this would be for like an artificer or a tinkerer or somebody like that who's trying to like piece together how to build something. And what I've done once before is use a Sudoku grid with letters. Um, and what I'm trying this time is the same thing, but on an isometric grid, just for vibes. It just kind of feels neat. And so the idea is that I've given this to players before, and it's like, okay, if you solve it, it'll you'll there's a word in there, and if they solve it and they get that out, then they've sort of like cracked that particular set of schematics. Um, and so I kind of want to push this idea. So the idea of the book, and this is, it's kind of it's a little bit handy dandy notebook. I get that, but it's just something I found for cheap, and I was like, okay, well let me test this idea because I have an artificer in my campaign right now, and I'm like, okay, if I made something like this, because I've already tested out, I've already sort of seeded I've given them sort of a puzzle hook. I've given them a couple of these literally these scraps is what I showed them with these two different puzzles, and they solved them. And I was like, okay, they kind of engaged with it. They could have ignored it. They didn't have to. So that seems like they're kind of interested. So the idea is if this was sort of an engineer's notebook and we use this as sort of a proxy for the idea of like more and more complex plans, how can I take the idea and sort of develop it? So initially, it would basically work like this. But then as you go, what if it's like, well, now instead of all letters, maybe there are some symbols, or what if like it's broken into pieces? Maybe part of one of the Sudokus is here and the other one is down here. I even have this thought about like maybe some of the pages should be older, like it's mixed together. Like I'm trying to think of like how somebody would develop plans. Imagine that you're carrying this like bundle of blueprints and schematics for a decade. It probably wouldn't all seem the same, right? And maybe it's written in different ways. So maybe there are some earlier, and I'm just spitballing this because I haven't even thought of all these ideas yet, but maybe some of these earlier ones aren't even like necessarily complete or impossible to fully complete, or maybe they could be completed, and that's part of the trick is like if you can take some of their half baked ideas and finish them out, that could become something even bigger. So part of it is sort of giving myself a baseline, like, okay, well, first let me modify this book. It originally had all of these. I wasn't going to use those, so I've cut down a bunch of these isometric grid sheets. I've already tested out and figured out like, okay, this is how I want it to lay out on each one. And now I figure I'll draw out some of these grids, which is kind of cathartic after spending hours getting it to this point. So if I draw them out, and then it's like, okay, so now this is like proof of concept, right? This is what it feels like, and maybe not the covers that I would like, and maybe this is too flimsy. Like I could always tweak stuff, but in terms of like a prototype that I could give my player, um, I don't even know how many pages it would need to have or how much it needs to be to feel complete. But yeah, that's the basic idea so far. I mean, personally, I'd love to develop this to a point that I could eventually make this sort of book of artificer blueprints puzzle thing available for people to either like download or print for themselves, or maybe I could figure out a way to make a bunch of these crafted wise. Like that'd be kind of neat. Yeah, exactly. Like to some extent, this feels like creating the the basic, and then saying, okay, now that this is what this feels like, how does it develop and become lived in, right? Um, what turns it into something like what you're talking about, right? Like a wizard's book, the thieves journal, the monster hunter journal. Like I want to, um, and this one in particular, I feel like marries so well with um, crafted items, right? Like this basically becomes, through some series of means, this becomes a way to unlock. Like how interesting if you solved, there are like 40 pages in here. So let's say if you solved 4 of them, I'm reminded of there was this great mechanic in The Return of the Obra Dinn. I don't know if you ever have played that game. I played it on the channel last year. It's really great. I might need to play it again. But there was this really great mechanic in that game where to fill out the journal about what happened, you had to get 3 things right. And every time you got 3 things correct, because there was so much chaotic stuff going on in it, but every time you got 3 of them correct, there was this big rewarding, like, okay, now we're going to reveal more of the story because you've guessed, not even guessed, like you've deduced these things correctly. Something like that would be really interesting here, where it's like, what if it's so difficult to solve? Like it needs to be this simple, right? Like this is a standard Sudoku, but this can be made more difficult. This can be pushed to the extreme. And if I push it even further across an entire thing, if I figured out a way to mechanically sort of break it apart and force you to solve this entire book, it could be something like that, where it's like, well, yeah, the DM could give it and say, anytime you solve 3 of these, then you basically get to pick, you get to assign those a value, and that value is a new thing that you can craft as an artificer, or a new type of thing that you have access to. It could even be like just here, you made this, right? I love all these ideas, and I'm excited to see where they go, and that I have a player to sort of test these ideas out on a little bit. Hadn't thought about that Obra Dinn connection. That could be really cool. Each Sudoku, there are 3 red case. You need to get the 3 letters to complete a sentence. Yeah, like on this one, I made an example of like, what if there was a square or a part of the grid that's like either maybe the square itself is red, or maybe the background is red, and then there's a red arrow pointing down, and then you have to find where these things connect, right? That could be kind of interesting. And then obviously, like, some of them could be symbols, some of them could be like, in theory, depending on how precisely cut these are, some of these could be empty, like, and that's why I've made enough of them that it's like, what if it was a little window, yeah, what you just said, right? Like, that could be a whole other, and not only that, but like, where was it? I was playing with this idea of like the imagine if the rings, imagine if like some of these were actually like there was a border around them, and that connected to some sort of alignment thing, where it's like actually this entire notebook is out of order. And especially with like the missing grid pieces on stuff, it's like if you reshuffled it into the order dictated by some sequence, now when you go through it, originally you would need the grids to solve individual ones from page to page, but now when it's reordered, those windows actually spell out a message that's needed for something else. Like that's another way to like how to get there is another thing. But I love these ideas, and just got to figure out a way to construct it, right? One big nasty beautiful thing. No, Mark has explored time, but I don't know if I need to create a coded language or find something else to engage. One idea that I've never explored, but I think could be really interesting. We talked about this, I feel like a year ago on stream, and I wrote it down as like something to come back to, is the idea of combining runes to form like magic. I don't know what kind of class. It honestly doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whatever class that character is. But almost like rather than a language, if the runes represented ideas or like elements. Oh, really? A rune warrior? Okay. Well, imagine if you made like, you know, something. Well, I say something simple, like it would be a lot of work, but no matter what, it's a lot of work. But in terms of ideas, like if there were like, so you could level it up, right? You could start with like, yeah, if you there are certain runes that if you collect them and if you have them inscribed on something, maybe it's a you could give them the symbols, but in their mind it could, or in their world maybe they're putting it on the straps on their leather straps or their belt, or they've got a hide of some sort and they carve these things in. Maybe they're able to activate those individual runes to do something until they uncover something that shows like two of the runes used together. Maybe one is put inside of the other, maybe whatever. And then if they scroll out that image and they start doing that, they start unlocking combinations of those things. And I'm intrigued by that idea that there's probably a way to make. You could probably almost recreate tons and tons of magic stuff using these like elemental kind of ideas and then recombining them. And then, I mean, all it's doing is basically creating an unlock system where if they track down or if they resolve a way to combine them, it becomes a puzzle, right? And once they figure out that they can connect those things, I feel like that could be really exciting. Well, it could be kind of interesting because of the nature of them being runes. Uh, it could even be like it could even be like you could almost treat it like a skill tree, right? Like you've found these runes. Each time they find one, it could be like they you can. It's like the Pokemon, the starter Pokemon. It's like you got to pick one, and then you sort of can develop it. Like what if they were almost like stamps. Like I feel like runic stamps. Like, and they had to like they were like building out this more complex image as they went along. Um, yeah, there's something there. I don't know. There are ideas there that'd be really fun to think about.